So, Stephanie, I want to start by saying thank you for your willingness to participate in kind of our LOL or Learn Out Loud series. And each month we are zooming in on the work of some of our network members that we think are doing cool, innovative things, and we want to bring them to the forefront of the conversation. So, we're getting ready to go on a new journey together. We journeyed parallel to each other for many years, and then over the last 2 or 3 years, when did you start CHW Street?
2022.
So that's about the time that you and I started really thinking about that intersection between community health worker and asset based community development. And we're about to do something super exciting, which I'm going to have you explain more of. But before we dive into what's on your plate in the coming weeks, tell me a little bit more about, as a public health professional, what attracted you to ABCD as a framework for achieving community health?
Yeah, um, I think it just makes sense. If I just boil it down, oftentimes an organization has their own institutional motivations, a specific grant that they've received, and specific initiatives that they want to do. And we kept finding like this disconnect. We're like, why are we having such a hard time finding people to fit this institutional's expectations, following through with this grant requirements? And I remember when we were working with uh, the team in Hillside and really finding that we're finding more success when we identify people who actually care about an issue and then we come alongside and support instead of saying like, here's what we're going to do. And we're doing something to the community, but we were doing things with the community and we found better results because we were in collaboration and we were really working to identify how can we empower community to do what community wants to do, not necessarily what an institution wants to do to the community. And so being able to share and move in a way that felt more authentic to the way that we should be moving, the way we should be caring and loving for community, loving with community, advocating with community, the with just felt so good. I think my disposition is always to be inclusive and include as many people as I can in something. And so I think it's my natural bent to want to do this work in this way, but even larger than that, it definitely is effortless because we're doing it together, right? We all rise together when that tide comes in because we're all on track in the same area doing the work for our community to thrive. So I think the main attraction was the way of positioning ourselves to instead of going against the grain, how are we doing a good job with being in alignment and supporting community well? Felt really good and excited to continue to practice asset-based community development principles.
So you train community health workers across the globe because I've met people from Africa through you. When you launched CHW Strength, you were able to really make that ABCD part a very significant part of what you were doing. But this year you got an exceptional opportunity. So tell us more about your apprenticeship program and your dream for that.
Yeah, so we have an opportunity to partner and network with lots of people around Virginia. Our hope is that we will be able to partner with local health departments. Um, Local health departments are connected to community. Well, many health departments have community health workers on the multidisciplinary care team already. And so our hope is to identify or help create a pathway for community health worker apprentices to get some on the job training and then hopefully become an employee at the local health department or be better poised or more employable to get a position at another organization as a community health worker because they have the connection with community, authentic relationships, and have completed their CHW apprenticeship opportunity. And so our hope is that over the next 6 months to a year that we would be able to support 40 community health workers, give or take, to be able to have an opportunity to engage in an apprenticeship program at a local health department or another community-based organization to support community well and really practice asset-based community development in community, right? Doing that well and not waiting for the organization to say, let me go and, do something, but they are working with community very closely to make things happen. They'll be able to do community listening. They'll be able to do a good job in their 6 months to a year to be able to support community well and really elevate the voices within the community. Pass around that megaphone, pass around that microphone, make the table larger, bring more seats to the table so that there is greater impact for the local health departments or the community-based organization where they'll be deployed to work.
Yeah, I think what's so exciting about this opportunity is when I have worked with health departments and other organizations that are kind of had case managed care as a big part of their responsibilities, a lot of times ABCD gets added on top of what is already an overwhelming demand. What's beautiful about the apprentices is that we're able to say, this is your primary responsibility. And so we're not adding it on top of, we're coming alongside what's already there, what the health department is already doing with someone with the capacity to get their mind focused in this way. It is extremely difficult. And you and I have talked about this before when your primary job is to meet needs and to focus on people who are in crisis and then on the side, find the people who are stable to thriving with gifts to give. It's your mind. It's very, very difficult to switch back and forth between these two perspectives. And so having this group of apprentices that are focused in that direction is super. It's wonderful. My hope, obviously, is that some of our trainees, some of our institutional partners who've gone through PowerShift, who feel like they lack the cultural competency or the capacity or both, or a little bit of both, will actually take advantage of this in Virginia and bring that opportunity, bring a CHW into that grassroots organization. So while all our PowerShift graduates would like to make this shift from this traditional needs based, institutionally driven model, many struggle to bring this approach into their institutional settings. So in March, so in just a few weeks, you and I are going to try something we've never done. So your team and I are going to attempt to train 40 people in these 2 week intensives. And then it's not just the training in ABCD, it's making sure we get a good match between the placement opportunity and that newly minted CHW who's passionate about ABCD. So as you across and probably you thinking about 10 placement sites across the state of Virginia. So, okay, how are you feeling about this? This is big.
I know, I know. I am reminded that I'm not alone. And so while I would, as an individual, would feel quite overwhelmed, I'm reminded that Embrace Communities is coming alongside. There's a whole network of people who know how to do this really well. People are poised and curious and want to lean in to be able to do a good job to represent well. Community-based organizations, local health districts want to do a good job of serving community well. So like all of those things combined really helps it not be something that I'm really trying to do, or it doesn't feel like a heavy lift, even though like practically it feels like it might be. I just remind myself of what we're working towards as a we, and it's not I as an individual, that we are going to be in this together and working well to see success from all aspects, right? All perspectives, we are going to see success. So I just remind myself that it's bigger than me, right? It's bigger than me and I am a part of it and I'm helping to lift. So many hands make light work. And so excited to see how we can all join forces to do a great job.
Yeah, I'm excited because some of our recent graduates have said, "Hey, that's something I might be interested in." So, yeah, I think teamwork makes the dream work. That's what our board in Hillside always said, and it is so true. So, do you have any reservations or concerns about what we're about to attempt?
Ugh, I don't know if I've got, let's see. So I think it's really just thinking about what does success look like. I think oftentimes when we're thinking about grant dollars, they have a success measurement in mind. And I am reminded about what success may look like, may not look like that. But I think us continuing to be diligent um, is what really matters in this. And so some of the reservations is more about like, are we going to meet the grant expectations? And I'm okay if we don't, but like that's the reservation. There's a little tension there on meeting grant requirements or expectations. But I know ultimately we are meeting community's expectations because we're doing things with community and nothing to the community. So feeling really good about that. And so have reservations, but I'm like doing a good job of counterbalancing that with the end in mind of what success actually looks like.
Well, with that, kind of lead into that, if you were wildly successful, this thing is just beyond what your expectations potentially could be. What would change as a result?
Hmm. So one of my like lifetime goals is to see community health workers everywhere. Anywhere where there are people being served, community health workers are on the team. And so that could be at a post office. And I know you're thinking, wait, what? But a male person goes to someone's house almost every day. And so what could it look like for us to care about that neighbor well and say, well, wow, I see your mails piling up, or like, let me do a well visit, or I see you in your garden, or I haven't seen you in your garden. Like, what do you care about? And so even if it's not the mail person, because we want to receive all our mail, but who on the team at the postal service can then support and say, okay, like, let me follow up because this person on their mail route said, let me, follow up at this address, right? And a community helper could come alongside and say, here's what we're seeing. How can we support? What are you caring about in your community? How can we join forces with you, right? And so that is like a lifetime goal, is to be able to see in very unique and innovative places community health workers on the team. And so wildly successful for this would be the 40 CHW apprentices getting employment, right? That would be awesome to see that every organization who's hosted an apprentice sees the value of the community health worker as a part of their team and then hires or partners uniquely in a unique way with the police department to be able to see success for their community. So success would be ongoing employment for every CHW apprentice, as well as unique partnerships to be able to work well with community and other service providers in that community. And then for community members to be ignited in such a way um, that fire doesn't go out because they're motivated from within rather than just motivated on the outside or like burning on the outside, but really there's a fire that's ignited in them that they're looking for a way to engage, to become a community health worker or to support the next listening session, to be able to see another initiative be successful because we are doing a good job of practicing ABCD principles. So community members more successful and more engaged in the solutions for their communities, service providers partnering well with other service providers, and every CHW apprentice being employed as a community health worker.
I love that. That's beautiful. So in ABCD world, we call these kind of community health workers that are doing this listening community connectors. And as you were talking, there are cities across I'm aware of several in North America, Canada, and the US that are investing in these community connectors, which are basically CHWs who are trained in how to do this connecting piece. I love the example of the post office. That's what made me think of it. It's like this integrated way of connecting to care to people who just authentically, genuinely care about people. Um, so, what would you like, want, or need in order for this project to reach the fullness of its potential?
Yeah, what initially comes to mind is that the openness to innovation, I think, is going to be needed, wanted, in order for us to be successful. Because a lot of times people want to, without having that power shift, right, or mindset shift, want to do things as usual. right? Even if they don't even work, it's just kind of like, oh, that's easy. Let's just go with the flow of the way things have already been going. And so I would say people leaning in and being curious and open to how we can be successful when we're not bound or limited in our scope of work as community health workers and working with community health worker apprentices. And so yeah, I think the main thing would be open to innovative ideas and willing to allow us the flexibility and autonomy to flourish well and to be wildly successful.
So right now, is one of the needs that we have is those innovative health departments across the state of Virginia, right? Looking for opportunities for CHW Strength to partner because that's all of them will be placed at a health department. Is that right? They may be working at a community partner, but they would technically be apprenticing at a health department. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think we could think creatively on what that looks like. I think there's an option for them to be placed directly at a community-based organization, but I probably would say mostly it will be through a health department. But I think we've got some flexibility for this grant because the grant wants to see CHW apprentices. So they want to see organizations become a registered apprenticeship site for community health workers, the Department of Labor and Industries. And so if that's a local health department, great. If it's another community-based organization, that's okay too. It's more about if there's more opportunities or more locations that are hosting apprentices, the likelihood of having more apprentices is higher because there's more locations that can actually host a CHW
That's
apprentice.